get to the point. How's that? Here is the point. The point is that this election on Tuesday happens to be the most important midterm election in the modern history of our country. That's a fact. And I want to tell you another fact. And the other fact is that in Washington, where I work, we have Republican leadership in the Senate and in the House, including Mr. DeSantis, who work day and night in order to give huge tax breaks to billionaires, drive up the deficit, and then they come back and they say, oh my goodness, deficit is soaring. We're going to have to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, education, and nutrition. Now, how does it happen that we end up with a Congress and governors all over this country, including your current governor, who spend their times worrying about the billionaires and ignore the needs of working people? How does that happen? And I will tell you exactly how that happens. And that is 4 years ago in this country, we had the lowest voter turnout since World War II. Almost 2 out of 3 Americans did not come out to vote. So you got billionaires like the Koch brothers running all kinds of ugly 30-second ads on television. And then you got working people and low-income people, people of color, and young people not voting. And then you end up all over this country with right-wing extremist leaders who are ignoring the needs of the people. Now, 4 years ago, we had the lowest voter turnout in modern history. In 2018, we need to have the highest voter turnout. And let me tell you absolutely that if on election night, on Tuesday, the guy on TV says voter turnout is really high in Florida, you could turn the TV set off because Andrew Gillum and Chris King will be the next governor of the country. And Sean Shaw will be the next Attorney General. That's what will happen if the voter turnout is high. But if that guy on TV says voter turnout is low, then you're going to end up with right-wing reactionary leadership here in Florida. If that happens all over America, Republicans will continue to control the House and the Senate. Let me say, we got a diverse audience here, people of all ages, but I want to say a word to the young people. You are the future of America. And as it just happens, and I'm very proud of this, having been all over the country, your generation of young people, people under 30, is the most progressive generation in the history of America. Your generation is leading this country in the struggle against racism, in the struggle against sexism, in the struggle against homophobia, religious bigotry. And your generation understands what Donald Trump does not, and that climate change is very real. You are a great generation. Well, what I want to tell you as clearly as I can is your views and your struggles for economic justice and social justice and racial justice and environmental justice, your views don't mean anything unless you participate in the political process and you come out to vote. And I just heard, I want to be very frank with you. I want to be very frank with you, I just heard some numbers right backstage there. Somebody said there are like 2,900 eligible voters here from this university, 29 in this county. All of 81 of them have voted so far. That's pathetic. And right now, as I understand it, after this event, Sean Shore is going to lead people right to the polling place, and I hope you'll go. Your generation is the generation that is going to be most impacted by the decisions made today. And it is absolutely imperative that you get into the mix and you make your voices heard. Think about it. Some of you may have seen a recent intergovernmental panel on climate change report. Some of you see that? Yeah. You know what it said? It said that we have all of 12 years to reduce the amount of carbon being emitted into the atmosphere. And if we are not successful in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy, if we are not successful, then the planet of your children and your grandchildren will be increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. See, and that person knows that, she's very upset about that. But you are going to have to live with the consequences of that. Your generation, as young people, is a generation which, if we don't turn it around, is going to have a lower standard of living than your parents. And we need to turn that around. Now let me tell you a little bit about Andrew Gillum. One of the great governors in Florida history. This morning I was in Orlando, in the hotel that we were staying in. I chatted with a woman who works at the hotel. I said, I'm kind of curious, how much do you earn? She makes $10 an hour and she has no health insurance. There are many hundreds of thousands of people in Florida who earn those terrible wages and who have no health insurance. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and every person who works 40 hours a week deserves a living wage. And that living wage is not $10 an hour, it's not your minimum wage of $8.25. That minimum wage is $15 an hour, which is Andrew's right. And Andrew Gillum understands that the future of America is having the best educated population on earth. And that is why he is going to work with me to move us to the day, sooner than later, when we are going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. How many of you guys are going to be leaving school with debt, student debt? Andrew and I believe that in America you should not be punished for the crime of getting a higher education. We're going to reduce that. And Andrew understands that instead of giving tax breaks to billionaires, we're going to fund education and make sure that teachers receive a living salary. And when we talk about decent wages, Andrew Gillum also understands that it is absurd that women in America make 80 cents on the dollar compared to men. equal pay for equal work. And when we talk about women's rights, Andrew also understands that it is not the government, whether it's state or federal, that should control a woman's body. It is a woman who should control. And Andrew understands something else that is enormously important. He understands that it is an international embarrassment that the United States of America is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a right, not given. It is beyond comprehension to me, beyond comprehension, that you got billionaires running this state who could allow some 700,000 or 800,000 Floridians not to see an extension of Medicaid. But we have got to do even better than that. And we are going to continue the fight for a Medicare for all single-pay program. Andrew understands not only that climate change is real, he understands the extraordinary potential for Florida to be a leader in moving us to sustainable energy. In case you guys haven't noticed, your state is called the Sunshine State. And it is called the Sunshine State for a reason. You get a lot of sun. And we in Vermont would like to borrow some of that sun occasionally. But you have extraordinary potential right here in this state to lower people's electric bill, to strike a real blow against climate change, and to create many, many good-paying jobs. Andrew will help move this state. Now, I understand that President Trump is visiting your state tonight. And I am more than aware that Mr. Trump in 2016 won this state. But I want to say a word to some of the folks who may have voted for him in 2016. And I can understand why people voted for him, because he said some things that actually make sense. But we know now what we didn't know then, and that is that Trump is a pathological liar. And it really doesn't matter what he says, because that has nothing to do with his reality. So to those folks who voted for Trump and are thinking of voting for Mr. DeSantis, I want to say the following. In 2016, you may recall that Donald Trump said, if elected president, I'm going to guarantee health care to everybody. Remember that? Well, not quite the case. Instead of guaranteeing health care to everybody, Trump and DeSantis moved forward to throw 32 million people off of the health care that they have. And we ended up stopping that by one vote in the Senate, and that was the vote by the late John McCain. And to the elderly people in Florida who may have heard Mr. Trump say he is going to take on the pharmaceutical industry and lower prescription drug costs, I asked the seniors in Florida, take a look at the prescription drug costs. They have soared over the last 2 years. Trump lied on prescription drugs.